So let's move to the last segment. Now the red and the green ones. This is about entrepreneurs. Do you think local businesses should set their own opening times? If you agree, yeah. Thank you. The following question for the 1 minute will be, now let's start with maybe Daniela. Yeah. Does your party want to invest more in combating welfare fraud and other types of fraud occurring in stichtings and organizations? Sometimes board members benefit unduly. So perhaps something like a local ombudsman committee. What are your thoughts on that, Daniela?
I think it's very important that we are really looking after fraud, because I think fraud from people, that it's stealing money from people, from the public persons, from the taxes, I think that's ridiculous. So as a government or the municipality, we have responsibility to take care and to invest if there's fraud, yes or no, because I think it's very important. At the same time, I want to say, I don't know if there's lots of fraud in our municipality. I don't get those, because I don't know this question where it came from. But I think if there's fraud, we have the responsibility as a municipality to really investigate and look after it, because at the end it's our public money and we pay tax for it, and we want to have all the money invest in good companies or whatever. So yes.
Yes, to answer the first question why I put red, because many of smaller businesses don't even want that, because they cannot compete with the bigger businesses who can stay 24/7 open if they want. Wouldn't be fair competition. So you have to do that part together to make it sure it's a really fair, it's a fair field of competition. To answer the bigger question, well, we come from a very financial conservative time with a lot of distrust that is still in our system, which is also explaining why, if you have an initiative, why it's so difficult nowadays to get funds or to support from the city. We were made crazy a few years ago with the idea that people from Eastern Europe were stealing all our social money, which wasn't true in the end. But we still have the system to fight this kind of fraud that really didn't exist. We believe in giving perspective and working from trust and to help initiatives, to help people, to give them perspective on how to get their life back, to how to get a future, and that's the way we should work as a city.
I was kind of surprised by the amount of green I saw, because I actually filed a motion saying let's expand the possibility for opening hours for for every business owner. I'm a small business owner. I don't agree with anything, with anything he said about the opening hours, because I would love to decide my own opening hours. It's my store, after all. But then back to the question. The thing is, and I think Chid already touched on it, if it costs more to detect the fraud and to hunt for all those fraudsters, first you're going to get into bureaucracy to make sure that it never happens, then you get what Chid just said, which I do agree with. But the other part is, if you look at like welfare fraud, it costs more in civil servants to track everything than it benefits from the actual expenditure. So it's also just a simple math equation. Are you going to spend more on hunting people or giving people the money they actually need?
Yes, especially I agree with the last part of what Jacco said. But I didn't put up a sign because we think that you can't give a free for all in setting your own opening times, because then the competition, but you always have to be able for, I don't want to work a day, so I keep my shop closed. So that's why we're a bit in the middle. But to the other question, indeed, welfare for the people who are hunted nowadays. We had a whole controversy by the toeslagen, because our system is too complex, people make mistakes, and then they are labeled as fraudsters. But you only ticked the wrong box. Yes, so.
Yeah, elaborating on the opening hours. Yeah, we think that Eindhoven deserves some more big city energy. Because Eindhoven is a global city, but it doesn't always feel like that. If you want to go to the stores after work or grab a drink on Monday night, yeah, it might feel a bit boring or closed. And GroenLinks PvdA thinks that that should change. In the last year, we campaigned for wider opening hours and changed the policy on that. We involved local businesses, cultural initiatives, and local residents in that process. Because in that way, we keep on working on a more vibrant cultural life, where you can enjoy the city both during the day and the night. And we also continue to do so.
Yeah, on the opening hours, I had the red and green card. It's because what Eva said, the framework has already been broadened the last term, and we think that business owners should decide their own business hours, but within the framework. So we're not about widening the framework any further. Then about fraud, honest mistakes happen, and that's why we have to honestly, as an administrative, look at the mistakes and not penalize those. But if you do fraud, then you must be, you must be penalized, because fraud cannot happen. It's taxpayer money, and we think that that should be punished. Also, we're very open to a local ombudsman committee, because independent oversight of subsidy allocation adds transparency, and that's we're always in favor of transparency. Thank you.
Well, within the boundaries set by the city of Eindhoven, entrepreneurs are currently free to decide when their business is open. Well, we think that opening hours have to become part of the licensing process, taking into account local residents, as they need to limit, for example, pollution, noise pollution. And also no one should feel pressured to compete with others just to, no one should feel pressured to stay open to compete with others, because that doesn't make anyone happier. And also about the welfare fraud, I don't believe we need to focus on welfare fraud, because it creates a lot of stress for people who are already struggling. I think we need to focus on other types of fraud that occur more often. And I think it's very important that individuals do not become the victim of fraud, and all the signals of fraud are taken serious by the police and addressed immediately. I think that's far more important.
For D66, it's really important that we become a much more vibrant city. That's why the last couple of years, together with Volt, for instance, we've always been advocating for more flexible opening hours. I think it's really important. It's not only for the businesses themselves, but also for the city you want to be. I think it's almost unimaginable that if you come from a big city and then you move to Eindhoven, and it's almost impossible to get a bread or a croissant at 9 o'clock on a Sunday, which is not possible. So we should change that. And when it comes to fraud, I think a lot of smart things have been said already, so I should not say them again, but it is true. If you hunt fraud, usually you spend 100 times more than the fraud itself. For one, you break the public trust with that, but second, it doesn't earn you money, it only costs you money. So we should not do that.
Thank you. That was the last segment. Now we can open the floor for the questions from the audience.